So tell me a little bit about what was going on when we first met.
So for me, it was a lot of just lower body tightness and lower body pain, especially in my back. And I'd feel a lot of tightness in my hamstrings, and it just made me feel like really weighed down. So like my legs were just heavy.
Right.
And there was not a lot of like mobility in them. So obviously it was affecting my running. It just felt like I was having to work twice as hard.
Right.
And then I didn't feel good after.
Right, exactly. It's like we're running and then it's like, ugh, when we get done instead of like
yay,
we did this,
yeah. It was
right?
like, oh, okay, I did it, but now I know I'm not gonna feel good in a couple hours or the next day. It's just then more soreness and more pain is going to be there than there should be.
Right.
Yeah.
And then what, like, a lot of times we have this driving force of like, okay, why not just stop running? Like, why were you motivated to keep running?
I think it's just because it's part of my daily routine. It's what I do. I know I can do it. And I know that obviously I'm getting older and I'm not going to do it the same exact way I did before, but I know there's a way I can still do it now. And I just needed to learn how to figure out how to do it now in my body and what how I am now. So even though there was like that hurt and there was the soreness, I knew that there just had to be a way to keep going through that.
Right.
Yeah.
So what did you find? What was the most helpful for you?
It's hard to say one specific thing because just the combination of the stretches, the static stretches, the movement, like the mobility, and then just a little bit of strength. I felt it was just such a great combination. I didn't feel like there was one that I was focusing on more than another.
Right. It's kind of that, like, we got to bring all of these aspects together, and then all of a sudden it's like, wow, now the pieces fit together and they work. Right?
It just complemented everything really well. And, at first doing like the thrusters, the hip raises,
Right.
Those are so tragic. Not even being able to do those well with zero weight, just my body weight. And then now being able to do 26 pounds, I feel I feel more solid. I feel the muscle there. So that's probably strength-wise, that's one of my favorite exercises. Stretching-wise, that alligator.
Oh, right.
Stretch.
That one just I need to rotate and get the mobility.
Yes. I love that one.
And I feel like those are some good foundational mobility, good foundational strength things. And you notice hey, it was just body weight at first. My body was even I don't even know how to do this. So it's definitely that training and working up to it and getting better. And then I've noticed your exercises have come a long way over the course of physical therapy.
Yeah.
Was there ever a turning point as you were going through where you're like, oh man, now I'm starting to see what's going on and where I'm going to go?
I think just not feeling the tightness in my calf. So when I would start running, I start my workout in the morning to go run. I usually walk a little less than a quarter of a mile, and just that walk to my stretching area, my calves were just already just hard.
We haven't even started yet and they're already
and then it would take about a mile and a half for those even to relax. Sometimes it would take even 2 miles. And so I think one of my first runs, after doing the exercises a couple times, just already that difference.
Right, yeah.
And I think that set the tone for the rest of my run, because now I'm not sitting here going, gosh, for 2.5 miles I'm gonna feel awful, and it's only a 5-mile run.
Right? You're it's not that far, right?
Yeah. So it was very obvious to me when the workouts were starting to help.
Nice. And how are you feeling now on your workouts?
Good. they still sometimes I'm like, ugh.
Right? Like those exercises are still challenging, which means
Yes.
they're still a good level.
Why does this still have to hurt? But it's a good hurt.
Nice.
So
it's different too, like that. Like, hey, my muscles are working hard versus just pain for
yes,
tightness or pain just getting in the way of things.
yes.
Yeah. A lot of times it's like learning to distinguish those and like what's a good fatigue, what's a good pain that's going to make me stronger versus just like, man, this pain is just hanging on here.
Yes.
Nice.
Yeah. And the big thing where I noticed that was definitely with the like the turning, anything that kind of opened up my midsection or my chest. It was that good stretch. It was that good pain. It just felt so much better, and you feel taller afterwards.
Right? Like taller and lighter. And it's always nice when you can run and feel lighter too, and not just like, whoa.
Yes.
And so how are your runs going now? How far are you running? What's that like?
So very good. So before I had started meeting with you all, I was doing a walk run. And partially because of how my body was feeling, I didn't feel like I could sustain my pace throughout the whole run.
Right.
But also it was just to try something different. So for this training period for LA, I've been running the whole time. All of my runs, I'm keeping my pace. And there's some times where there might be hills that I decide to walk just because, but it's not because I have to. It's not like I feel like my body's going like, oh my gosh, like you can't take another step.
There's not going to be like a negative consequence afterwards. It's just like, all right, we're just going to take it a little bit easier right here.
Yeah, so I feel like one of the things that I had mentioned when we first met was just the confidence of feeling like I can get out there and still be running. I don't question that on Saturday. Like when I get to club, I feel good. Yeah, and it doesn't need to be like the fastest pace, but I know I'm going to be able to sustain my pace the whole time.
Right, and a lot of times it's like we get these stepping levels where it's like, okay, cool, that helped us get to this level, and then like, okay, then we'll work a training plan to get to this level, and then this level. But we have to at least get that foundation of like, we can run without pain getting in the way, without tightness getting in the way, and then from there it's like, sky's the limit. We got this.
Yes, I agree.
Cool. If there was somebody who was like on the fence about physical therapy, they weren't quite sure, what is it gonna work? Do you have any advice for them about like going through those steps in that journey?
I mean, definitely get a consultation. Find out more about it, because I would say that's kind of how I was. Is it a glorified massage? Is it? Am I gonna come in here and be, doing some crazy stretching and crazy workouts? Like, it's good to actually understand what it is and what it does, and realizing like the structure that it gives you. And I think that's probably the biggest benefit that comes out of it. I think we have so many resources nowadays through Instagram or other that where we can say, oh, look at this stretch, maybe that will help fix this for me. But putting that all together in a program is not something that everybody can do, like your average person, right? So I think PT is structured like this. You have people who are doing that for you, who can guide you, who can let you know if you're doing a movement like, not the correct way, a better way.
It's hard to see it on yourself.
Yes.
Right?
Like you think you're good, you think you're holding in your core, and then it's like, no.
Right? I even check myself. There are times I'm like doing an exercise and I'm like, am I doing it right? Hold on. So like even knowing, like having extra eyes is super helpful.
Yes. So I definitely think it's, whatever access one has to PT in whatever way they can do it, I think it's worth looking into.
Right? At least investigate a little bit and see if it's something that's a fit that you feel like is going to help. And I would say too, like, a lot of times you want to find a therapist that you feel confident in and you're like, all right, I feel like they're hearing me and that they're going to be able to help me get through this journey too. Because it takes a little bit. I wish it were like one day, but sometimes it takes some work, right?
Yeah, and I think it's a definite plus when that program has people in it that run. Right? I mean, not every physical therapist runs specifically. They might engage in other types of activity, but as a runner, And you even notice this when you go to like a regular like masseuse. As a runner, if I can say this, 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 and they're like, I know exactly what you mean.
Right. Like, I feel you. We get that one. Especially when it's like, oh yeah, I've had that one. Or I've worked with somebody with that and then we got through it this way. You know, it gives us that.
Yeah, but they themselves being able to, as a runner, going, okay, that long run this, or okay, this happened on, you know, it's a very easy flow of information because we connect on the same understanding.
Exactly. Perfect. Well, it's been awesome having you here. I'm so glad that your runs are feeling better. I know that was like we got to get runs better so that everything else in life feels better and can just flow, right?
Yes.
Yeah. Whew, good job.
Thank you.
Woo. Nice.